everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mitt, and I have 25,830 to be exact dollars invested into Palantir. So today we're making another Palantir video. Okay, very important video for today. Cathie Wood. Yes, it is time to talk about Cathie Wood. Now, Cathie Wood, legendary investor. She's beaten the S&P 500 over the past couple years, so she's really been doing her thing when it comes to running what she calls her sort of flagship innovation ETF, which is the ARK-K Innovation Fund. And basically, this is a ETF that indexes the most highly innovative stocks. We're talking about Coinbase, Robinhoods, Teslas, Twilios of the world. And Cathie Wood is responsible and her team for buying a bunch of these stocks, putting them in one portfolio and trying to beat the S&P 500 and really trying to beat every other exchange that is out there. Now, why are we talking about her today? She has bought close to $1 billion of Palantir across all of her ARK funds. So two things about this before we get into some analysis. Number one, there's about $1 billion across all funds, which is kind of crazy for a stock, right? The stock is about a $40 billion market cap. So she owns 1/40th of the entire market cap of the company, just across all of her index funds, which is pretty crazy. And number two, it is the only one of two stocks. The other stock is Path, which is another software company, I believe, that is in every single one of her funds. So, like, for example, she has companies like Tesla, and Tesla takes up 2 or 3 of the 6 funds that she has. And, like, obviously the ARK Innovation Fund has the most amount of Tesla because that was the bet she took on Tesla way back in the day. Palantir is one of those stocks that she has picked that is in every single ETF within the entire ARK catalog. And to me, you know, I'm not saying that's the biggest deal in the world, but that's pretty interesting, right? That every single ETF you have, you think you could benefit from the upside of Palantir being within each one of those and a significant percentage being in each one of those, which makes a lot of sense as well. And additionally, before I get into sort of my main points here, Palantir's been dropping, right? It was at a 27 about a week ago, all-time highs, and not all-time highs, but like pretty high given the past couple months where it's been stagnating. And now we're looking like we're falling down 21 today. As of recording this, it's 9 in the morning on November 22nd, or 9:50, and we're at 21.02. Very likely we're going to hit 2050, and that's like our next main level of resistance. And I'm excited for that, to be honest, because I'm just buying more. I mean, like, this is stupid at this point. Like, I'm just getting a lot more of the stock. So what's interesting to me about this is the level of conviction Cathie Wood has on the stock. And the things to think about here when we're thinking about Cathie Wood and her conviction in the stock is that she's not an investor that picks a stock without conviction, right? Whether she's right or wrong, and she's not always correct, even though she's more correct than she is wrong, when she picks a stock, she likely has a logical reasoning behind it, a little bit of a crazy reasoning behind it, and the intricacy, or sort of the amalgamation of the intricacies of her logic and her craziness makes a stock have, or makes her ETF have massive returns. So let's take Tesla as an example. She betted on Tesla way back in the day, back in, let's say, 2016, 2017, when Tesla stock was really struggling to gain momentum, struggling to gain support of the masses, et cetera, et cetera. This is when Elon was tweeting things like going private at 420, all this stuff she had to put up with, right? And their bullish case for Tesla was 4,000, right? That was their price target. They were going on CNBC every day. They were like, it's going to go to 4,000. Tesla pre-split now, I think, is around a little bit over 5,000. So they were correct on that metric, right? Now, the way they got there was a lot of momentum. A lot of stuff happened in COVID, and you can point to a lot of different metrics for how Tesla ended up getting to the valuation. But I think at its core, Tesla got to that valuation because it wasn't necessarily a meme. People recognized that, oh, this company literally has the best product in the world when it comes to electric cars. No one's competing with them. And they trusted in the visionary that is Elon to take them to the next level and expand Tesla to get things like the Hertz deal, or to get things where they can secure contracts where they don't have to give up any margin because they have way more demand than supply, which means they have all the controlling power and all the leverage. So on top of that, you match the quality of the product and their ability to innovate with software and big data in terms of all the miles that every car sort of records and then sends back to Tesla as a sort of AI processor, then we're talking about a company that really is first in class, a company that deserves to be a $1 trillion company, especially a company that's doing something really good for the planet, right? Like, that's why I have no problem with Tesla being that big and that expensive, because it's actually doing good for the world. Cathie recognized that before everyone else recognized that, before Warren Buffett, who I don't think has ever invested into Tesla, before any of the big hedge funds, right, like that were trying to catch up with it. She recognized that at a very young age in the lifespan of Tesla's company. This is what makes me excited for Palantir, right? When Cathie Wood makes an investment, it's not that it's always going to be correct, but it's that there is a level of analysis that goes into the future trajectory. That means long-term potential of the stock. And from 2016 to 2019, Tesla, again, like she was seen as an idiot by most people for the amount of money that she put in, for making it her biggest holding. And then inevitably, it becomes the thing that it becomes. And this is similar to me for Palantir. Palantir is a stock that's $20 right now, arguably one of the most important software companies in the world. And Cathie Wood has said two main things about Palantir that I want to point out, which I think gives her some credibility in terms of making it one of the biggest long-term companies. Number one, she is quoted to say it is 5 years ahead of any AI technology that exists. And this is because Palantir spent 17 years actually developing their AI technology and primarily working with governments. So they got subsidized by the government to figure out how to synthesize and create artificial intelligence to understand data at the highest of levels, while every other startup that was trying to do that did not have those, big contracts. So before they went public, they had 17 years to really figure out what they were doing in the first place, and that gives her a lot of confidence to think that their AI is better than everyone else. She's also quoted as saying that she doesn't think people understand how advanced their artificial intelligence is. And to me, that signals that either A, her analysis have done a lot of work to really understand the nature of Palantir, or she herself, right, has talked to the people at Palantir and she actually sees something that other people don't, which is led her to make that investment. I also think if given she's an investment fund, like I'm pretty sure she has some inside connections with Palantir to the point where like they want her to buy, more shares. So they're going to give her more preferential treatment when showing her the nature of the software. So that I also think makes her really confident about it. The second thing is that she believes that Palantir has the potential as a technology to usurp, these are exact words, the AWS's, Google Clouds, and Microsoft Azures of the world. Now, let's talk about what those services are. If you've heard about AWS or Microsoft Cloud, I was about to say Microsoft Cloud, Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure, etc., these are all cloud computing companies. The reason they're cloud computing companies is because they take all the data that people use within their companies and they store them in a centralized place. They are almost like centralized servers, right? So for example, I have a startup. The link is in the description if you guys want to check it out. And my startup is an audio startup, and we host a lot of audio files. We've had people post over 7,000 pieces of audio content to our platform. We started with AWS from day one. It's actually been a year since we've been running the startup. And AWS has been amazing for us because, first of all, it costs literally pennies to store that much data. I mean, you think about it, you have 7,000 large pieces of audio content. Some are like 10 minutes, 20 minutes, some are like 2 hours. And it literally costs us pennies to store that data, which is just like phenomenal. The fact that like we don't have to stack up servers like they did in 2007 and 2008. We just like go send it to Amazon, and Amazon's data like centers just like host the data for us. It's crazy. So these companies ultimately make money by us paying a fee to Amazon. I think we pay like $150 every month, and they store that data. Now, you're talking about a small startup like us paying $150 a month. Think about a company like, I don't know, let's say Volkswagen, and just another car company. I said that really weird, Volkswagen. And they have a ton of data on their cars, right? And they probably use AWS or some of those cloud computing services to store all that data. You're talking about millions of dollars a month, right? I think AWS in 2019 brought in $16.8 billion of revenue. Like it's a money printing machine because every single company needs to store their data somewhere, and they don't want to do it on their servers. So they would rather trust these really secure companies, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, to just do that for them. I think Amazon is the leader in that category. Now, why does Cathie think this is going to usurp those companies? The reason for this is because Cathie believes that a lot of those countries, because they're centralized, Palantir offers a predominantly different sort of integration with these companies. So the reason companies use Palantir is not to store their data, but rather to make their data better. And she believes that if AWS can't really do anything for your data other than store it, right? Because all you do is it's like putting it in a box and leaving it there. You don't have to worry about the data, but it's in a box. But the data is not optimized. So when Palantir takes your data, it's like, okay, you have these 1,000 different metrics for data. Here's how we're going to turn the dial on all of these so that you can save $10 million next year. That's a whole different service, right? So if you're talking about companies paying millions of dollars a month to just host their data, what are companies going to pay to optimize their data to actually save money in the future? And this is not pie in the sky. These are literal case studies of companies who have been saving millions and millions of dollars by using Palantir. because they were optimizing their data. I think I did an example in one of these videos that there was a supply chain company that saved $50 million. I forgot which video it is, but $50 million because Palantir was able to better show them. It was an energy company. Palantir was better able to determine how many things they need to buy and how many things they need to get rid of in terms of their inventory, which just like totally optimized their approach to buying and selling solar panels or whatever they sell. And they saved a lot of money, right? They saved 50 million bucks. So, like that to me is where Cathie is seeing something here, which is that if every company in the world is using Amazon, Google, and Microsoft, which they are, from startups to big companies, you have to have somewhere to host your data, then data is essentially the thing that keeps the world running in 2021 and beyond, which means if every company can use those 3 companies to host their data, could every company also use a software and a technology that is advanced enough to make sense of their data? Palantir is going to be the only company, or at least the best-in-class company, that is actually going to be able to make sense of their data in a meaningful way, give them those services, and then, you never know. Palantir might start offering services to store your data. Palantir might start offering different services to integrate your data within different parts of your company. Like, there's so many different possibilities, but getting those clients in the door, making like, for example, we're an AWS client. We're probably never going to leave AWS. It's entirely integrated with the entire framework of our startup, right? So for us to switch to Google Cloud or Microsoft Azure, it's going to be really difficult for us. It's going to be like a pain. If we start using Palantir one day, right, let's say to optimize all of our audio data that we have on the startup, and Palantir starts telling us XYZ of what to do, and their algorithm only keeps getting better, and our approaches to the decisions we make as a company only keep getting better, we're not going to stop using them to use some other company. What, for because it's a little bit cheaper? Like, no, like we're going to use the thing that's going to save us money and the thing that we're comfortable with. Even if Google was a little bit cheaper than Microsoft right now, or even like 30% cheaper, it's not worth it, right? At least not on this stage, because we want to do something that's integrated, and the time it would take to do all that shifting could be way better spent on, for us at least, building our startup, right? So that's why I think it's important. The final thing I want to say here is that Cathie is a thinker that thinks ahead, right? She does not live in the present moment. This is something I love about her. This is something I love watching interviews about her. She only thinks about companies that can truly become massive, massive companies if they're given time to grow, if the management team has the execution experience, and if Wall Street in particular, because she's the anti-Wall Street, always looks to the short term. Because when they look to the short term, there are buying opportunities for Cathie in the long term, because these companies are massively undervalued, or at least not accurately valued in the short term, which gives her the opportunity to just gobble them up. This is what she did with Coinbase and Tesla and all these other companies. And now she's getting the fruits of her labor. I think Palantir is going to be no different of a story, right? I believe Palantir has the capacity to become one of the most important software companies in the world. She believes in it to the point where she's made $1 billion bet. And I think if this dip keeps happening, for people who are afraid of this dip right now in November 2021, she's going to keep buying. She bought $28 million, I think almost $34 million of the dip a week ago, right? And if it keeps going lower, I can't see her not buying even more, right? So at this point, I ultimately think that's her logic and her reasoning for the company. I think she also has a long-term trajectory, and that means all investors should have a long-term trajectory. If you're in this stock, relax, cool down. It's going to be fine, but you got to have a long-term mindset, because if someone can put $1 billion bet on the next 5-6 years, then you can put a $10, $20, $25,000, whatever amount of money you put bet as well. Because like you've got to take some long-term bets and just relax and then enjoy the ride. All right, that's it. Thank you guys for watching. My name is Amit. This is the Daily Business Show. And as always, I will see you in the next one. Bye.